The black glass became transparent. A woman stood on the other side, dark hair, gray eyes, a scar beneath her left ear. She looked older than the girl hidden at the edge of the Franklin Academy photograph, but there was no mistaking the shape of her face. Claire, the child labeled *Raven 0. The girl my mother said had disappeared before room 6. Margaret Hayes stepped closer to the glass. That's impossible. Claire placed one hand against it. You said the same thing when Marcus came home. The red door beside the observation wall opened with a metallic click. Cold air moved into the classroom. Claire entered, wearing a dark civilian coat and carrying no visible weapon. Her movements were quiet, controlled, and familiar in a way I could not immediately explain. She looked at Anna Voss, then Elias Mercer. Finally, she looked at me. Elena Hayes, you know me. I knew you before you knew your own name. My name has always been Elena. Yes. Then what did you create? Everything around it. My mother stepped between us. Claire, this is not the place. Claire's expression hardened. You had 30 years to choose a better place. Victor Kane was arrested. Kane was one instrument. Helen Ward is in custody. She was another. Then who are you hiding from? Claire looked toward the ceiling cameras. The woman who taught both of them how to turn a disappearance into public service. Naomi Carter examined the electronic panel beside the red door. The building network is offline. I disconnected it, Claire said. How did you enter? I never left. Anna frowned. You've been inside Franklin Academy for 11 months. My mother looked toward the underground archive entrance, the maintenance rooms. The rooms you sealed after room 6. Margaret's voice softened. We believed you were dead. No, Claire faced her. You needed to believe I was dead. The sentence cut through the room. I had heard similar words from Marcus, Aaron, and the families who discovered that military officers had chosen silence for them. People rarely admitted they had abandoned someone. They said they believed rescue was impossible. What happened to you? I asked. Claire looked toward the old classroom desks. Room 0 happened. There was a room 0 before Franklin Academy, before the child cells, before Atlas had a name. How old were you? 7 when it began. 14 when I disappeared. Who ran it? My mother. My own mother lowered her eyes. Claire noticed. You still haven't told her. Tell me what? I asked. Claire walked toward the yearbook photograph. Raven 1 was not originally Thomas Hayes. My father inherited the call sign. Yes, from whom? Claire touched the image of her younger self. Dr. Miriam Cross. Your mother. Yes, where is she? Claire looked directly at Margaret. Ask Lantern 1. My mother remained silent. I felt anger move through me, not explosive anger, the colder kind that arrives when another locked door appears, inside a house you thought had finally been searched. Is Claire's mother alive? Margaret closed her eyes briefly. Yes. Claire's composure broke for less than a second, then returned. You told me she died. I told Thomas that. Why? Because Helen Ward placed Miriam under a permanent identity closure. Where? I was never given the location. Claire laughed quietly. You always were an excellent liar until the lie required a name. I stepped closer to my mother. Who is Miriam Cross now? Margaret looked at me. I don't know her current legal name. Claire removed a small device from her coat and placed it on the teacher's desk. A photograph appeared. A woman in her late 60s stood outside the United States Capitol, surrounded by reporters. Silver hair, white suit, American flag pin. I recognized her immediately. Senator Evelyn Hart, chair of the Senate Committee on National Security Accountability. The woman scheduled to lead the next morning's hearing on the future of the Atlas records. Claire looked at the photograph. My mother. Senator Evelyn Hart had built her reputation on exposing waste, contractor abuse, and failures in military family support. She delivered speeches about transparency. She chaired hearings for grieving families. She had publicly demanded answers after Helen Ward's arrest. Now Claire claimed she was the first architect of the system that had hidden those answers. "No," Anna said. "Hart investigated my father. She investigated the evidence he was no longer alive to explain," Claire replied. She condemned Ward. After Ward became impossible to protect, Elias examined the photograph. "Does Hart know you survived?" "Yes." "When did she learn?" 23 years ago. "And she never contacted you?" "No." "Why?" Claire looked toward me. "Because Atlas trained adults to describe abandonment as sacrifice." The words sounded like something my father might have said, or something I had learned after 7 episodes of watching people hide behind duty. Claire activated another file. A grainy video filled the screen. A young woman sat inside a white clinical room. Her dark hair was tied behind her head. She wore a military medical uniform without insignia, Miriam Cross, the future Senator Hart. 7-year-old Claire sat across from her. A set of identity cards lay between them. Miriam held up the first card. "What is your name, Claire?" She held up the second. "What is your name?" "Rebecca." The third. "Anna." The fourth. The child hesitated. Miriam's voice became gentler. "What is your name?" "Whatever keeps Mom safe." The recording stopped. Claire did not look away from the screen. My mother believed children could survive identity changes more successfully than adults. "She tested that on you?" I asked. "She called it preparation." "What was she preparing you for?" "My father had discovered a weapons transfer network inside military intelligence. Ward believed our family would be targeted." "Was he?" "He disappeared 6 weeks after Room Zero began." "Did your mother relocate you?" "No." Claire's mouth tightened. She continued the tests. "My mother moved toward her. Miriam believed your father might still be alive. And turning me into 12 different children would bring him back. She believed one identity could be followed while another survived." Claire looked at Margaret. "You defended her then too." "I was not part of Room Zero. But you knew, afterward, and did nothing." "I brought you to Thomas." "You brought me to another program. We were trying to close the child cells. You placed me inside Franklin Academy, to protect you." "There it is." Claire laughed once. The word that built every prison. I looked toward the red door. "What does this have to do with my childhood cover?" Claire removed 3 old cassette tapes from her coat. After Voss expanded the child protocol, he wanted a comparison subject. "Me?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because you were Lantern One's daughter. My mother founded the relocation network. And your father was rebuilding its medical escape routes. Voss believed their child would inherit operational instincts." I was 11. He did not see a child. He saw a predictable combination of 2 trained adults. My mother's hands tightened. We agreed to one controlled observation. The room became silent. I turned toward her. "You agreed?" Margaret's face showed the answer before she spoke. "Yes." "You placed me inside Room 6 voluntarily?" "We believed Thomas could use the session to expose Kane's unauthorized camera. You used me as bait." "No. What would you call it?" "A controlled counterintelligence operation." I stared at her. "That is what you call using an 11-year-old as bait." "Elena, we never intended. That sentence has buried more people than Atlas." My voice rose. "You signed me into the room." "Yes." "Did Dad agree?" "To one session." "Did he tell me?" "No." "Did you?" "No." Then I was not part of the operation. I was the equipment. My mother looked as if I had struck her. Part of me wanted that. Another part hated that I did. Claire watched both of us. "You asked what I created," she said. I faced her. "Tell me, after the lockdown you remembered too much. Kane wanted you retained for further testing. Thomas wanted to take you home. Margaret believed Ward would never stop looking. So you gave me another identity?" "No, your identity was secure." "Then what?" "I created the story you would remember." The fever. The school emergency. The nightmare about locked classrooms. The childhood narrative my family repeated until the real memory disappeared beneath it. You were 14, I said. 15. You designed a memory cover at 15? I designed the phrases. Dr. Evelyn Shaw designed the treatment. Anna's eyes filled. My mother. She tried to reduce the panic without destroying the memory. But the memory disappeared. Because Margaret kept reinforcing the cover after the treatment ended, I looked toward my mother. How long? Years. How many? Until you stopped asking about the red door. I could not decide which betrayal hurt more, that my parents placed me in room 6, or that afterward, they watched me search for the truth and taught me not to trust my own mind. Claire opened the red door completely. Beyond it was a descending corridor lit by small white lamps. The air smelled like old paper and cold metal. This is the original child archive, she said. Why was it beneath Franklin Academy? Noah asked. It wasn't. What? Room 6 was built over it. We followed Claire down. The corridor ended inside a circular chamber. 12 red doors lined the wall. Each carried a number, 1 through 12. At the center stood a projection table containing hundreds of small film cartridges. Naomi examined the system. Analog storage. Ward could monitor every digital archive, Claire said. Thomas built this one without a network. My father built it. He completed it. My mother designed the first room. Claire approached door 0, concealed between doors 12 and 1. There was no handle, only a glass panel. She placed her hand against it. The door opened. Inside was a single chair facing a screen. On the seat lay a file bearing my name. Asterisk. Elena Greystem Prairie Child Observation. Consent. My mother remained outside the room. I opened the file. Thomas Hayes' signature appeared at the bottom. Margaret Hayes' appeared beside it. The authorization allowed one controlled session lasting no more than 20 minutes. No medication, no identity, replacement, no separation from parents, no continued psychological testing. Voss had violated every limitation. That did not erase my parents' signatures. A video attachment activated. My mother appeared beside Dad inside her Franklin Academy office. The recording was dated the evening before room 6. Dad looked furious. We do not place her in that room. My mother replied, Kane has already identified the school. Then we remove every child. Ward will shut down the escape network. Let her. There are 76 families inside it. Elena is our family. My mother looked away. She is also the only child Kane has already observed who does not follow the false route. Dad stepped closer. You are talking about our daughter as though she is an operational advantage. I am talking about 20 minutes with both of us in the building. No. Thomas, if we expose his camera, Ward will remove him. Dad laughed bitterly. Ward protects him. Then we expose her too. With Elena sitting in the chair? My mother did not answer. Dad's expression changed. You already signed. I authorized the room, not the child. The form has her name. I believed you would understand. I understand exactly. He removed a pen. For several seconds he stared at the document. Then he signed. The recording ended. I looked at his name. My father had objected, then agreed. Everyone I loved had eventually found a reason to cross the line they said they would defend. Claire stood beside me. Thomas regretted that signature for the rest of his life. He still signed it. Yes. Did he ask you to build my cover? No. Who did? Your mother. I turned toward Margaret. She had entered the room. I thought Kane would search your memories, she said. He did. I wanted him to find something ordinary. So you replaced the truth with a lie. Yes. You let me believe my own fear was weakness. Yes. The word was barely audible. Claire looked toward me. The hearing tomorrow is not only about Kane's crimes. What is it about? Who owns these records? The former children should. Senator Hart wants them placed under permanent national security seal. Why? Because her original identity is inside door 0. And yours. Yes. Why come forward now? Claire looked at the 12 red doors. Because my mother is about to erase us a second time. The hearing began at 9 the next morning. Senator Evelyn Hart sat at the center of the elevated panel. Her white hair was perfectly arranged. Her expression conveyed patience, dignity, and concern. The room was filled with former Atlas children, recovered witnesses, military officers, and families still trying to understand which parts of their lives had been chosen for them. Claire sat beside me. She wore a plain dark suit, no medals, no public identity. Officially, she had been dead for nearly 30 years. Hart opened the hearing. The crimes committed through the Atlas network require accountability, she said. But accountability must not come at the cost of exposing innocent people whose identities remain protected. It sounded reasonable. That was what made it dangerous. She proposed that all original child cell records be transferred to a classified Senate archive. For 75 years, most former children would be dead before they could read their own files. Elias leaned toward me. She calls burial preservation. People trust coffins when they are labeled archives. Hart continued. Recent claims regarding a previously unknown Raven 0 have not been independently verified. Claire's jaw tightened. Hart looked directly at her. The woman seated beside Colonel Hayes has presented no legal identity, no authenticated service record, and no verifiable chain of custody connecting her to the deceased child known as Claire Cross. Claire stood. My name is Claire Miriam Cross. Hart's face did not change. That child died during an unauthorized relocation. No, you abandoned her during one. A murmur spread across the chamber. Hart raised the gavel. Remain respectful. Claire stared at her. Do you remember the yellow coat? For the first time, the senator's composure shifted. Only slightly, Claire continued. You told me not to cry because the driver would remember crying. Hart looked toward her attorney. He whispered something. She faced Claire again. Many classified records describing the child have been circulated. No record mentions the yellow coat. Hart's voice became colder. This hearing will not become emotional theater. Claire laughed softly. That is what you called my childhood too. Hart looked toward the security officers. This individual may be experiencing identity delusion influenced by exposed Atlas materials. There it was, not denial. Diagnosis. The most efficient way to silence someone is to make every protest evidence of instability. I stood. Senator Hart. Claire has access to the original Room 0 archive. Obtained illegally. She was the subject. Allegedly. Submit to biometric comparison. Hart's attorney objected. The senator's personal medical data is irrelevant. Claire looked toward the panel. My mother had a small crescent-shaped scar beneath her right palm. Hart folded her hands beneath the desk. Reporters noticed. Cameras zoomed in. Hart's face remained controlled. Colonel Hayes, she said. Your recent conduct raises serious questions about judgment. My childhood records do not change what Claire knows. No. But they explain why you are vulnerable to constructed narratives. She turned toward the audience. Colonel Hayes previously presented manipulated recordings, suppressed memories, and unverified childhood codes as operational evidence. I felt the room shifting, not entirely against us, but toward uncertainty. Hart was skilled enough to make truth look like obsession. Then she presented a death certificate. Claire Miriam, cross-dater of death. December 8. A photograph showed a burned vehicle. 3 bodies had been recovered. Dental records identified one as Claire. Claire stared at the image. I was never inside that vehicle. Hart's expression carried sympathy. Believing you survived another child's death does not make it so. Claire looked at me. She knew you would ask for proof. We have it. Not enough. She was right. Hart controlled the official records, the death certificate, the relocation authorization, the sentence archive. If we merely produced another hidden video, she would call it manipulated. We needed her to authenticate it herself. My mother moved toward the witness table. Call me. I looked at her. What? She cannot deny Lantern 1 knew Miriam Cross. You want to testify? Yes. About room 6? All of it. If you admit signing the consent, they may charge you. I signed it. That does not mean Hart gets to use you. This is not about what she gets. Margaret looked toward Claire. It is about what I owe. My mother took the oath. Senator Hart watched her with an expression that resembled professional respect. Nothing more. Mrs. Hayes. Hart began. Did you direct the original Lantern relocation program? Yes. Did you approve identity closures involving minors? Yes. Did you conceal those programs from congressional oversight? Yes. A reaction moved through the room. Did you authorize Elena Hayes' participation in room 6? My mother looked toward me. Yes. The answer became public. No classified wording. No operational excuse. Her attorney closed his eyes. Hart continued. Was Elena informed? No. Was she competent to consent? No. Did you later reinforce a false explanation to conceal her participation? Yes. I felt every reporter turn toward me. Hart had what she wanted, proof that my own mother manipulated my memory. Would you agree, the senator said, that Colonel Hayes' recollections may be unreliable? No. Hart's expression tightened. You just admitted changing them. I concealed one event. I did not create the evidence recovered from Kane's facilities. But Colonel Hayes interpreted that evidence through a buried childhood experience. She interpreted bank records, transport manifests, and living witnesses. Hart leaned closer. Did you tell your daughter Claire Cross was dead? Yes. Did you believe it? No. Claire stared at my mother. I turned toward her. You knew she survived? For 17 days. What happened after 17 days? Helen ordered her transferred. Hart raised her gavel. The witness will use formal names. My mother looked directly at her. Dr. Miriam Cross ordered Claire transferred. Hart became still. Every camera captured it. My mother continued. After the transfer, Miriam accepted a new identity under the name Evelyn Hart. The chamber erupted. Hart struck the gavel repeatedly. This testimony concerns protected identities and is unsupported. My mother removed a red file from her bag. This is the original transfer agreement. Hart's attorney stood. Do not open that document. My mother placed it on the evidence table. Hart looked at her. For the first time, their public roles disappeared. Senator, school administrator, director, Lantern 1, 2 women who had known each other before any of those names became useful. You promised, Hart said quietly. My mother answered just as quietly. So did you. Hart's attorney requested a recess. The panel refused. Claire approached the witness area. You knew I was alive. Hart looked toward the reporters, not toward her daughter. Claire's voice broke. You knew. Hart finally faced her. I knew Ward had relocated a child matching your profile. My profile? I could not verify. You gave birth to me. Hart's expression tightened. You were under another identity. You taught me 12 identities to keep you alive. And when one of them survived, you chose the one without a daughter. Hart stood. You do not understand what was at stake. Claire laughed through tears. There it is. What? The explanation every Atlas parent gives after choosing the program. Hart's voice sharpened. Thousands of witnesses depended on my position. And your daughter? You were protected. I was alone. You were alive. Claire stepped closer. That was the minimum, Mom. The word froze the room. Mom. Senator Hart's face turned white. Hart denied the identity transfer. She claimed the signature was forged. She claimed Margaret's testimony was motivated by guilt. She claimed Claire's memories had been constructed from stolen records. Then she made one mistake. She asked to examine the Red Door archive personally. My biometric authentication can prove I was not Dr. Miriam Cross, she said. That was exactly what we needed. The original system had been moved overnight from Franklin Academy to a secure evidence chamber beneath the courthouse. Door 0 stood behind reinforced glass. The panel, attorneys and technical experts, watched through a live feed. Hart placed her hand against the scanner. The system activated. Raven 1 biometric confirmed. No one spoke. Hart attempted to remove her hand. The glass panel locked around her palm long enough to complete the comparison. Original identity, Dr. Miriam Cross. Current identity, Evelyn Hart, relationish. Mother, Claire Miriam Cross. Claire closed her eyes, not because she doubted the truth, because certainty ended the last small space where another explanation could live. Hart stared at the screen. You had no right to expose this. Claire opened her eyes. It was my record, too. You endangered every person connected to the original program. No. I stepped toward the control panel. You endangered them when you tried to bury the only archive proving how they were used. Hart looked toward me. You think your uniform gives you moral authority? No. I removed my colonel insignia and placed it beside the scanner. My mother's uniform did not make room 6 right. Your office does not make 75 years of silence protection. The system requested a second authentication. Raven 6 success or access a variable. I placed my hand against it. A prompt appeared. Open door. Hart's voice sharpened. Do not. Why? The archive contains active identities. Then it should open only to the people whose identities are inside. The system was not designed that way. Then we redesign it. You cannot rebuild national security architecture during a hearing. My family built it inside a school without a hearing. I selected * limited subject access. The system rejected it. * master authority. Hart was still the master authority. Claire looked at her mother. Photoниze it. No. Give every former child access to their own file. The records are interconnected. Then separate them. That could take years. We lost 30. Hart's expression hardened. You believe revenge will restore those years? Claire shook her head. I want a birth certificate that does not call me dead. I can arrange that privately. No. Claire faced the cameras. You hid me privately. You will acknowledge me publicly. Hart refused. So I opened the consent recording. My parents appeared on the courtroom screen. My mother authorizing room 6, my father objecting, then signing. The public saw all of it. I could have concealed the document to protect my family. I did not. Margaret watched her younger self cross the line. Tears filled her eyes, but she did not look away. The recording continued beyond the section we had already seen. After Dad signed, he remained alone in the office. He looked directly into the hidden camera. Miriam, I know you are watching. Hart became still. Dad continued. If you use Elena or Claire to preserve this system, the system deserves to fall. He placed a second document on the desk. I have transferred successor authority to both children. The screen displayed. Raven, origin authority. Raven 6. Closure authority. Claire looked toward me. What does that mean? Hart knew. Her face showed it. Raven 0 can open the original archive, I said, and Raven 6 can close it. Claire replied. Dad had divided the power. The first child could reveal the truth. The later child could decide whether the centralized system continued to exist. Hart stepped away from the scanner. If you close Atlas, protected identities may fail. Not if we transfer control to independent custodians, Naomi said. You cannot guarantee continuity. No, I replied. We can guarantee no single person owns everyone. Claire placed her hand on the origin panel. Raven 0 confirmed. Door 0 opened. The archive did not contain addresses, it contained choices. Every Atlas child file included a sealed instruction recorded by the person before their identity closure. Some wanted contact with their original families. Some did not. Some wanted the truth released after their deaths. Others wanted the original identity erased permanently. Ward, Kane, and Hart had ignored those choices. They treated protection as ownership. Claire opened her own file. A recording of 14-year-old Claire appeared. Her face was bruised. She spoke directly toward the camera. "My name is Claire Miriam Cross." Hart gripped the edge of the table. Young Claire continued. "If my mother is alive, tell her I waited." Adult Claire covered her mouth. The child on the screen said, "If she does not come back, do not tell me she did it to protect me." Hart's composure finally collapsed. She turned away from the cameras. Claire did not. 30 years of waiting stood between them. Hart moved toward her daughter. "Claire, no. Please. You do not get to ask for privacy now." Hart stopped. Claire looked around the hearing chamber. "My mother was given another life. She used it to become one of the most powerful people in the country." Her voice trembled. "I was given another life too." She placed her hand against her chest. "But I spent mine learning not to exist." Hart whispered, "I believed Ward would kill you if I reclaimed you. Then why not contact me after Ward lost power? She never lost power completely." "What about 10 years ago?" Kane was watching. 5 years ago, Mercer controlled the relocation files. "Last year?" Hart had no answer. Claire nodded. "That is what I thought. Fear may explain the first year, perhaps the second. Eventually, fear becomes the story people use to defend the life they chose afterward." Hart looked toward me. "You understand command. Tell her. No, you have sacrificed relationships for operational security." "Yes." "Then explain that sometimes leaders cannot return to the people they protect." I looked at Claire, then Margaret, then the image of my father signing a form he knew was wrong. "Leaders may fail to return," I said. "They do not get to call abandonment protection forever." Hart's shoulders lowered. The senator disappeared. What remained was a mother who had built an extraordinary public life on top of a child she never came back to claim. "I was ashamed," she whispered. Claire's expression changed. Not forgiveness, recognition. Hart continued. "At first, I was afraid Ward would find you. Later, I was afraid you would ask why I had stayed away. So you stayed away longer." "Yes. You chaired hearings for other missing families." "Yes." "You looked mothers in the eyes and promised to find their children." Hart began to cry. "Yes, while yours was alive." "Yes." Claire stood in silence. Revenge would have been easier. Anger would have been cleaner. But the truth rarely produces a single feeling. Claire had wanted her mother exposed. She had also wanted her mother to say her name. Hart looked at her. "Claire Miriam Cross." It was the first public acknowledgement of her daughter's existence in 30 years. The official transcript recorded it. The cameras captured it. Claire was no longer an unidentified woman claiming a dead child's name. She was alive. Not because a senator authorized it, because the truth could no longer be sealed. Federal investigators approached Hart. She was informed that she would face inquiry for perjury, unlawful identity suppression, evidence concealment, and participation in unauthorized child experimentation. Claire watched officers remove her mother's Senate credentials. Hart looked back once. Claire did not turn away. But she did not follow. Some doors open into reunions. Others open only far enough for the person inside to walk out alone. The former Atlas children gathered in the Red Door chamber 3 days later. No officials. No military command. No Senate committee. Only the people whose records were inside. 34 attended in person. Another 57 joined through protected connections. Each person received 3 options. Recover the original file. Keep the file sealed under independent legal control. Dies the original connection permanently. No one decided for them. Claire opened door 0 first. She recovered her original birth certificate, her father's photograph, and every message left by the child she had been. She did not destroy the file. Not yet. I spent too long having no past, she said. I'm not ready to erase it now that it belongs to me. When my turn came, the system displayed Raven 6. Closure Authority. Central Atlas Network. Close network. Asterisk. My mother stood behind me. Caldwell and Marcus watched from the doorway. Once closed, Naomi said, no single command authority can reactivate the entire system. What protects emergency witnesses? Caldwell asked. Independent regional trusts, Noah replied, each controlled by the people enrolled in it. Slower, Caldwell said. Yes. Less efficient. Yes. Safer? Naomi looked toward the former children. From one another, perhaps not. From another ward or Kane. Yes. My mother approached me. Your father believed centralized command was necessary when Lantern began. My father also signed Room 6. He changed. Too late for some people. Yes. I looked at the prompt. Atlas had saved lives. It had also allowed powerful people to treat identities as government property. Dieting the central network did not erase what it had done. Keeping it alive did not honor those it saved. The question was not whether Atlas had once been useful. The question was whether any person should inherit the power to decide who remained publicly real. I selected Close Central Authority. Asterisk, the system requested Raven Zero's confirmation. Claire placed her hand beside mine. Ready? She asked. No, neither am I. Together we confirmed the order. The red doors unlocked, one after another. Not to reveal every file. To give each subject control of their own, the main server shut down. The words asterisk Raven 6 success ORRSK disappeared from the screen. For the first time since I was 11, the name Raven 6 belonged only to me. Not a program, not an inheritance, not an order my father left behind, a name I could keep or release. Marcus stood beside me. How does it feel? Quiet. You dislike quiet. I dislike controlled silence. He smiled faintly. You always did. My mother remained near door 6. You closed what I built, she said. Yes. Are you sorry? No. She nodded. I am. I looked at her. For building it? For giving you reasons not to trust me. That will take time. I know. No secret operation to accelerate it. Not today. It was not forgiveness. But it was the first promise she made without hiding another plan inside it. 1 week after Atlas closed, Claire moved into an apartment near the Hayes Recovery Center. She refused federal protection. She accepted a dog from Owen Price instead. A dog cannot stop an intelligence contractor, I told him. No, Owen replied, but it recognizes liars faster than most committees. Senator Hart resigned before the Senate could remove her. Her trial had not begun. Claire had not visited her. When reporters asked whether she forgave her mother, Claire gave the only honest answer. I am still learning what happened. The Red Door archive was transferred to an independent commission. Naomi, Noah, and representatives selected by the former children controlled access. I had no master key. That was exactly what I wanted. Then Aaron called from federal custody. His voice sounded different, slow, uncertain. Elena, what happened? I remembered something. From when? When we were children. My body became still. What did you remember? Franklin Academy. You were never a student there. I know. A guard spoke in the background. Aaron lowered his voice. Someone brought me in at night. Who? Dad. What room? Aaron began breathing faster. Elena, there was another door. What number? 7. I looked toward Claire. She heard the call through the speaker. Her face changed. No, she whispered. Aaron continued. There was a man behind the glass. Kane? No. Voss? No. Who? I don't know his name. A metallic alarm sounded on Aaron's end. The connection began breaking apart. Aaron, listen to me. Are you safe? No. What happened? They showed me a recording. What recording? You were in it. I was in room 6. This was before room 6. How old were we? You were 5. I could not remember Franklin Academy at 5. What did the recording show? Aaron's voice became a whisper. You were standing beside Claire. Claire stepped closer to the phone. That's impossible. I did not meet Elena until years later. Aaron heard her. Raven Zero? Claire froze. How do you know that name? The man said there had to be 7. 7 what? Children who could remember 2 lives at once. The prison alarm grew louder. A guard shouted. Aaron spoke quickly. Elena, Dad wasn't testing you. What was he doing? He was trying to hide you from the 7th child. The line went dead. Naomi traced the call. Aaron's detention signal had disappeared. His cell was empty. No forced entry. No transfer order. On the floor, guards found a black envelope. Inside was a childhood photograph. 7 children stood outside Franklin Academy. Claire, Anna, Elias, me, Aaron. 2 faces had been scratched away. On the back was a message. Room 7 never closed. Beneath it, Raven 6 destroyed Atlas. Raven 7 will rebuild it. Asterisk. Claire turned the photograph toward the light. One scratched face was a boy. The other was an adult woman standing behind us. My mother entered the office and saw the image. The color left her face. You know her, I said. Margaret gripped the edge of Dad's desk. Yes. Who is she? The woman who created Victor Kane's first identity. Was she part of Atlas? No. My mother looked toward the empty place where Aaron's face had once been recorded. Atlas was created to hide people from her. The recovery center lights flickered. Every unlocked red door in the independent archive closed at once. A new command appeared across Naomi's screen. Raven 7 Aforaticept. Then my brother's voice came through the speakers. Elena. I'm sorry. A second voice spoke behind him, a woman, calm older. Raven 6 closed the wrong system. The screen displayed a live image. Aaron sat inside room 7. Behind the black glass stood the woman from the photograph. She placed her hand against it. Tell your sister the first rule, Aaron. My brother looked into the camera. His eyes were filled with fear. Then he repeated the words our father had engraved on his watch. Stand when others step back. The woman smiled. Good. A red door opened behind him, and Aaron disappeared into the darkness.